have to. I just said this to Emma beforehand. I said, "Oh, your favorite ad is on there today."
I was waiting for it.
2021, new year, new rear. Don't just make a commitment in 2021 to wash your hands every time you go. Go the extra mile and wash your butt. That's right. The brand new Hello Tushy 3.0 modern bidet attachment. It's finally here. It's stylish. It's eco-friendly. Super easy to install and very affordable. Hello Tushy 3.0 doesn't just cleanse your butt with a precise stream of fresh water. It cleans itself, both before and after it's used, with the Smart Spray automatic self-cleaning nozzle. It attaches to your existing toilet, requires no electricity, no additional plumbing, and cuts your toilet paper in use by 80%. Sanitation is simple. The Schmutz Shield offers easy cleaning. The knobs are naturally antimicrobial. Plus, every Hello Tushy bidet attachment comes with a 60-day risk-free guarantee and a 12-month warranty. If you already have the Hello Tushy, like I did, I think I had the 2.0, but I'm not sure that's what they called it. You can now upgrade to the 3.0. It is super easy to install this thing. Like I said, no new plumbing, no electricity. You pop off your toilet seat, you pop it down, screw it into your existing plumbing. It's super easy, folks. And it is a great way to finally try what everybody who has ever had a bidet has told you, that it is really like, it is the idea of the way that we go to the bathroom and that we clean ourselves in the bathroom is, it's like, it's sort of shocking when you think about the technology has not improved. But it has, and it's called the bidet, folks. Go to hellotushy.com/majority. Get 10% off plus free shipping. This is a special offer for our listeners. Go to hellotushy, TUSHY.com/majority for 10% off. hellotushy.com/majority. All right, want to welcome back to the program Alex Perrine. He is staff writer at The New Republic. He is the host, or co-host, I should say, of The Politics of Everything. And as you can see, he is a Twins fan.
That's right.
Perrine, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Sam.
So, Alex, let's touch on at least what's going on in Georgia, because obviously this has national implications in a couple of different ways, not the least of which is the reason why the Democrats control the Senate right now is, in many respects, the reason why we're seeing the Georgian Republicans do this. It's not unique to Georgia. We're seeing this around the country, though. But just give me your sense of how this, what the implications of this may be on a national level, and obviously to the extent that we can get a sense of it in Georgia.
I think it's hard to say what the implications are on a national level so far, because I think it'll depend on what Democrats do in response, right? Like, they have this voting rights bill that passed the House. And it really just depends now on, are they actually going to make it a priority or not? And because I think if they don't, and I feel like I've heard people be pretty optimistic about it, but I find it, I find the pace of what the Senate's been doing so far to be pretty slow. But if they don't, it's really, it's a green light that you can get away with this. And I think Republicans in Michigan are doing something similar. And I mean, across the country, wherever they hold state houses, they're going to try stuff like this. And like, weirdly, like, I think that they don't even quite know, the Republicans doing this don't even quite know what the direct implications of all these measures are, like voter repression. There are sort of tried and true ways of suppressing the Democratic vote that this goes beyond. These measures go beyond that in a way that, like, who knows what the implications will be.
Well, that's what's interesting about it. I mean, there's two sets of things that this Georgia bill does. it does the sort of like juiced up voter suppression tactics that in many respects, just on their face, just in terms of their direct impact, may end up hurting their voters as much as Democratic voters in Georgia because of the way that they've targeted, like, no excuse absentee voting. The Republicans up until COVID used that more. Mm-hmm. So it's not clear how that reverts back. But then there's also a decent amount of studies out there that, like, when you have something this egregious, it backfires because it ends up making it a story about how the Republicans are trying to prohibit people from voting, particularly, African American communities and people of color in general. But the measures where they're taking away the authority and sort of like highly politicizing the jobs of assessing the outcomes of elections, that to me seems really problematic. And in some respects, it seems to me that like Kemp understands when he was making this announcement. We played a clip of him saying, like, they're calling me Jim Crow. They're saying I'm racist. They want to play on that territory, right? Because that gets their base out. They don't want to talk about the sort of more structural things that they have changed in the way that they assess the validity of an election. And that, to me, is the scarier part. And that's really just a function of the fact that the Supreme Court has, in many respects, eviscerated the Voting Rights Act. And there's no way to put any check on them doing something like that.
Yeah. And that's I think you're completely right. Because there's one funny part of it where it's like, I think Republicans in Florida were moving to limit absentee voting just because, like, absentee voting became a Democratic thing last year. But Florida elections, the people who vote in Florida elections have been using a lot of absentee voting to vote for Republicans for many years. So you can almost like look at that part of it and kind of be like, all right, like they don't really quite know what they're doing. But I think that, when people were sort of trying to raise alarm bells about what Trump was doing after the November election, it was almost less that like he's going to succeed and more that like he's just laying the groundwork he's making it okay for Republicans to try all these things that are very dangerous, like saying like, we're gonna change who gets to decide what the final result of an election is. Like we're gonna politicize like counting the votes, and we're gonna politicize recording the vote tallies and stuff like that.
And while Republicans are doing this on the state level, as they made gains in state legislatures, I mean, the Democrats did not flip one state legislature, am I right, in this past election cycle? The National Democratic Party is having a fight about the filibuster when it comes to these voting rights. And so this seems like a classic, even though the Democratic Party seems to have learned a lot of lessons over more than I thought they might have over the past, what they've demonstrated over the past few months. This seems like classic Democratic Party where they're going to get caught up in procedure, as on the state level, Republicans are making massive changes that could have dire implications for decades to come.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because, Alex, you say that you're concerned about the slow pace in the Senate. I will also, what needs to be said right now is that I don't know how many months ago it was, but the earliest piece I saw that had any notion of the theme of "Don't worry about Joe Manchin" was yours. I can't remember. Yeah. You wrote it very early, maybe even before the inauguration. And I raised that because, yesterday we were talking about President Joe Manchin. And this, there's a dynamic and people have started to catch on to this in a couple of different places. 2 weeks ago, on March 8th, rather, not 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, close to, in Axios. I'll read a couple. Joe Manchin has said he'll block Biden's next big package, $2 trillion to $4 trillion for climate and infrastructure, if Republicans aren't included. Manchin said the infrastructure bill can be big, as much as $4 trillion, as long as it's paid for with tax increases. He said he'll start his bargaining by requiring the package be 100% paid for. Mm-hmm. Now, on March 24th, 2 days ago, he says... this was in, I think this was in I'm not sure if this was in the Washington Post or it could have been Axios. Senator Joe Manchin said Wednesday he favors large infrastructure package that would be paid for in part, which is different from 100%, by raising tax revenues. Point of contention between the two parties. Quote, I'm sure of one thing, it's going to be enormous, said the West Virginia Democrat, who's seen as a swing vote in the chamber. Notably, Manchin said the Republicans' resistance to higher taxes was not a reasonable position if they want the package to be paid for. And yeah, I mean, you called it with Manchin, and well, give me your sense of where we're headed, because I'm starting to see stuff like stories about Joe Biden meeting with historians and coming up with $5 trillion.
Yeah, I don't know. The Manchin stuff is so funny. The tax thing was like, it's like such a, and I got to give him more credit than I used to for the way he's able to play this with the media, because he can get them to write it just the way he wants them to write it. Joe Manchin is saying, we got to do a huge infrastructure bill. And you know what? We're going to raise taxes on rich people. I don't care what my colleagues in the Democratic Party say. I demand we raise taxes on rich people to fund infrastructure. And you're like, oh, no, anything but that, Joe, please. So that's, my impression is that I don't know. I'm probably more hopeful now about, we're talking about the Voting Rights Act, or the sort of voting rights bill, the For the People Act. Biden made it clear that his next move is infrastructure. Biden made it clear that like he wants to do things sort of in some particular order, one at a time. I think they need to make sure that they don't run out of time for that, because it's an existential issue for the Democratic Party. It's like, and I think some of them know it, but they all got to be really clear that it's an existential issue for like the ability of this party to win elections going forward.
Do you have any sense of what the timing is? I mean, the infrastructure bill is going to be more than likely a reconciliation bill, right? I mean, unless I guess they deal with the filibuster before then, but there's no reason not to make it a reconciliation bill. It seems to me, and they have two bites at this. I'm not exactly sure. I think we must be, starting probably in a week. We're in fiscal year 2021, or we're still we're in fiscal year 2021. So that's when they get another opportunity for reconciliation. But what do you think that what's going on in Georgia might end up being the impetus to accelerate S1, and which is the companion piece to HR1, and get the filibuster gone?
I mean, it should be. I don't really know. The Senate is a black box in a lot of ways. Like, you just have to like you have to just sort of guess at what Schumer is doing, and it doesn't always make a lot of sense from the outside. So I don't have a strong sense. I think that Georgia should be a reason for them to like move on that as soon as possible, because it's like highly salient and it's in the news, and people will have a clearer understanding of why this is necessary now, as opposed to if they wait a little bit longer.
Also, couldn't you really, if you decided to tackle HR/S1 first, kind of dangle a carrot for Manchin with what he wants in terms of what's going to be in that infrastructure package, which he seems pretty keen on? And I'm sure there will be direct provisions that help West Virginia in and of itself. I mean, that could be a strategy too, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm sure that the White House is working very closely with Manchin on whatever the infrastructure bill turns out to be. But I think they should make it clear to him that getting his way also, like, he needs to help get this thing through as well.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, I am still sort of, it seems odd that we have no sense of what's happening in terms of the timing or the sequencing of these bills. I mean, it doesn't, and all we're starting to hear are these stories of like, almost like these cheerleading sessions. There was, I think, a leak today that Klain had met with AOC, and I mean, I can't quite tell what's going on. If they're just, trying to, smooth out some things, or they're just getting ready to sort of like bust through the doors in some way.
Yeah, that's it's odd, because you're completely right. I've been, reading all the same stuff as you. And I think like remembering back to 2009, 2010, it was always sort of really clear what was happening in the Senate, in the sense of like, you knew these are the senators who are